Detective Roger Maxwell is at the Istanbul train station for his ride back to Munich. After solving a rather unusual case for the Prime Minister, the untimely demise of his son, after the arrival of a strange wooden box, in it, nothing but a mysterious piece of paper with a symbol. Police were unable to come to any conclusion and distraught. The Prime Minister reached out to the young detective from America, Roger Maxwell. And finally, after solving the most unusual case, it was time for Detective Roger Maxwell to return home. With all flights being cancelled due to the snowstorm, he was taking a train to Munich, and from Munich back to Georgia. Boarding the Orient Express, Mr. Maxwell found his cabin. Just as he settled down, the door opened and a man stepped in. "Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's all right. Maybe you can keep it here." The man somehow managed to put his 2 suitcases and his briefcase in the storage, and finally sat down. "I'm Matthias Hoffman. Roger Maxwell." "Nice to meet you, Mr. Maxwell. Quite the weather here in Istanbul, isn't it? I'm not from here. Came here on the job ever since my wife passed away. Had to leave my 2 daughters back in Zurich with my sister. Finally going back home." "I see. I couldn't even make it for Christmas. You know what that means. Double the gifts and apologies for my 2 girls. Could barely fit everything in the suitcases." "Seems like you've been on the run today." "Don't mention it. Didn't want to miss this train again. Haven't even gotten a chance to eat." With a chuckle, Mr. Maxwell said, "I actually haven't had lunch myself. Why don't we head towards the diner?" "Absolutely." Just as the 2 men got up, the train attendant walked down the aisle checking their tickets. "Ticket, sir." "Oh, I kept it in the briefcase." As Matthias tried to unlock his briefcase, he suddenly realized the lock had gotten jammed. Oh no, not again. Mr. Maxwell took out his pocket knife. "Maybe I can help you with that. It happens with me all the time." "A gentleman's knife." With a tinker, he got it open. "Wow, Mr. Maxwell, you're a jack of all trades." Reaching the diner, they sat down at a table as a waiter dropped by. "What would you like to order?" "Chicken, an omelet, and bread." "Salmon and rice." "It'll be just a while." Joanna used to make it all the time, but ever since she left, things were quite the mayhem in the house. The girls, they really don't like my cooking. Thank goodness they like my sister's cooking. Mr. Maxwell listened to the man talk. He seemed quite lonely in life. "My wife used to work at a 5-star hotel in Zurich, and I worked at a phone company. Together we ran our small home. But without Joanna, I just couldn't make it work. But then when the phone company opened a branch here, they were accepting employees, so I chose to transfer. It's better pay, but it's hard being away from family. especially for the girls. Without their mother and now me, I really get to talk to them. But they like my sister. Oh, sorry about that. I tend to get carried away. How about you? Is there someone waiting for you at home? No, not at all. No family, and not close to relatives. Consider yourself a lucky man, Mr. Maxwell. No responsibilities, no troubles. In a way. One chicken omelet and bread for you, and one salmon and rice. Thank you. Matthias quickly dived into his food as he asked Mr. Maxwell, "So what brought you to Istanbul? On the job or a vacation?" "A bit of both. I was called for an investigation on the request of a government official." "What? The Prime Minister's case? You are the detective, Roger Maxwell, who was specially invited from America? Amazing. You solved the case that shook the whole nation." "Something like that." "What are you saying? You're famous. You're on every newspaper and radio show. They haven't published your picture, otherwise I would have immediately recognized you." Mr. Maxwell smiled. "Not as famous as you perceive." As Matthias and Mr. Maxwell were talking, they reached the next stop. "Is this the Bucharest station?" "Yes. The next stop is Budapest, 15 hours away. I'll be changing trains at Vienna to Zurich. What about you?" "From Vienna to Munich." All of a sudden, a woman sat down at their table beside Matthias. "I hope you two gentlemen don't mind. The train is practically empty and I can't eat alone." "Yes, it's off-season. Much of the people have gone home already for Christmas. And with all other transportation shut down for the holiday, you'll rarely spot anyone out in these conditions without an emergency." "Well, I came here in a rush for my sister's marriage and now in a rush to get home to Vienna again." "Evelyn Smith." "Roger." Matthias passed a glance at Mr. Maxwell when he realized he hadn't introduced himself. I'm Matthias Hoffman. Your Caesar salad and Parmesan croutons." "Thank you." Now, with the three of them conversing, Mr. Maxwell recognized a man enter the diner. Bernard Ford, a wealthy businessman, along with the train conductor. He looked quite unhappy, complaining. "I hope there won't be any delays. I'm late as is." "Don't worry, Mr. Ford. We're going a little slow due to the snow, but I'm sure we'll reach on time." "Is that Mr. Bernard Ford?" "Nice. A billionaire on a train. How often do you get to see a rich and influential man like Bernard Ford on a train? It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." The conductor escorted him to a cabin up front. Sir, this is your room." Within a while, he returned, passing by their table. "Good evening. Hope everything is fine." "Excellent. Yes, we're doing fine. All's well, but I was wondering, the food, is this pre-cooked or freshly made?" "A little of both. We're on quite a long journey, miss." Mr. Maxwell asked the conductor, Wasn't that Mr. Bernard Ford? Yes, Mr. Ford was supposed to go by flight, but his flight was cancelled. He didn't have much of a choice but to take the train. If you all need anything, please let me know. Do inform one of the attendants. Thank you. As the three had their dinner, Mr. Bernard returned to the diner, asking the attendant about his room service. When his eyes caught gaze of Miss Smith, "Hello there. I'm Bernard Ford. Evelyn Smith. Nice to meet you. I hope you don't mind if I join you." All this time I was complaining having to take this train, but had I not, I would have never met a beauty like you. Well, it's not just you and I tonight, but we have a famous person on this train. Excuse me? Yes, Mr. Roger Maxwell, the detective who solved the case of the Prime Minister's son. What a surprise. Nice to meet you. I was just reading about you the other day. Nice to meet you too. And this is my friend, Matthias Hoffman. Yes, hello. That night, Mr. Bernard had dinner with them, but he was only looking at Miss Smith. It was nice spending time with you gentlemen. I think I'll take leave now. Yes, I was thinking the same. I hope you wouldn't mind, Mr. Maxwell. No, we were intending to call it a night ourselves. Right, Mr. Hoffman? Yes, yes. Returning to the cabin that night, Mr. Maxwell and Matthias prepared their bed. Miss Smith is quite clever. You didn't say your last name, but she recognized you. Or maybe she had overheard us. That's why she came and sat with us. Oh, Mr. Maxwell. You detectives have a different way of thinking. Noticing Matthias fall quiet, Mr. Maxwell asked him, "Mr. Hoffman, haven't you considered marrying again?" No, Joanna was the one. I loved her. And who would want to marry me? I'm a middle-aged working man with 2 children. Who would want to marry me and become a mother of 2 grown-up daughters? How about someone like Miss Smith? What? No, Miss Smith wouldn't want that. You know what I think? And this is just my opinion. Miss Smith likes you. Which room is Miss Evelyn Smith staying in? Cabin 203. After Evelyn Smith had washed up for the night, she returned to her cabin room, a bit surprised to see a note left on her table. Who is this from? Meet me in my room. Wow, so he wants me to meet him in his room at this time of the night? But it was sometime around 1 a.m. Mr. Maxwell and Matthias woke up to a knock on their cabin door. Who is it at this time? Mr. Maxwell opened the door to the conductor with some guards. Something wasn't quite right. Mr. Roger Maxwell, you are under arrest. Arrest? Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting.